song, and as the man said, you listen to it on Solar Powered Crew FM. We're talking with John Lydon. John Lydon of course, Public Image Limited, PIL, new album called This Is PIL. We listened to a couple songs already, This Is PIL, and the single, Reggie's Song. We are very lucky to have John Lydon, also known as Johnny Rotten from the old days. You know, may I ask you, and I know everybody asks you this, but this is just such a kick to me, not only to be talking with you, but also, you know, to want to ask you this question about Neil Young immortalizing you yet again in, you know, with Hey Hey My My.
That was touching that he would do that. I felt that.
And he felt, you know, that again, he tapped into the fact that you had, with Sex Pistols, you guys had tapped into, you know, a culture. You tapped into the anger of the culture. You know, in addition to
we were part of the anger of the culture.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we just went along. How we got the name and other people did not. So it's neither here nor there. But yeah, there was a lot of anger.
The late Bob Mercer, I believe he signed you, right? Did he do the initial signing?
Bob did the signing, yes.
Yeah, Bob Mercer loved you guys, and he went on and on. He used to go on and on about you. When I was lucky enough to be one of his friends at one point, and also work with him.
He was a bit of a pill himself, PIL.
He was. Before we leave the Sex Pistols, let's wrap that up. But what are your these days? What are your thoughts about Sex Pistols and how it was part of the culture, how it integrated there?
A lot of the material. A lot of it I shied away from for many years for personal reasons, but I've revisited a lot of the material, and I think it holds up on a lot of levels. When you look at the Occupy movement and a lot of the anger that's out there now, I think their music it still holds.
And what's nice is that you were part of it because of your age and because of how you were approaching your music at the time and using it in this way. But as you said, like with the Occupy movement, there's a lot of anger that it can still tap into musically.
I wouldn't doubt if you saw a resurgence of some of our old LPs.
And also when you moved on to Public Image Limited, you had you carried some of that flag, but also the material in PIL ended up being less. I don't want to say less topical. It was topical, but it didn't have that same. It didn't have that same, intensity lyrically.
You can look at it any number of ways. Some of it is as intense on a more personal level.
There you go. That's all right. So it was more personal. So when you guys, and let me ask, when you got into this album, when you started recording This Is PIL, did you end up? What was it like in the studio? How did you approach it creatively?
I'm not going to say there wasn't some tension within the band. And there always will be. Any project I'm involved in, there's always going to be tension, but I think that helped build the creativity when you have friction amongst some of your bandmates. And it's all temporary, but when they create that, you have that friction and you embrace it rather than try to quell it. I think it shows in the music. You earlier
you mentioned, you brought up the Occupy Wall Street movement, all that. Is there something right now that's got your attention that's going on in the culture?
Well, the Middle East is obviously something that everyone's had their eye on, and the recent, the violence. But I think that this time with the election coming up and a lot of people that are just unemployed, and to tell you the truth now, I don't give a about any of it.
There's also the element of what you mentioned before about the Middle East and all that, and it does seem like between that and I don't want to put Occupy Wall Street on the same level as that, but the unrest. It just seems like there's always a level of unrest that people are championing or bringing to the population's attention. And you guys, as far as culture, you did that. You've been a part of a movement twice with Sex Pistols and also to whatever degree, even though maybe it might have been more personal, but with PIL. I mean, how do you feel about having been part of?
I understand. No, that's what I'm saying is there's always unrest, and there's always something in the world. There's always something that's falling down, and I was part of it with the Sex Pistols, and now I'm so wrapped up in my personal life where I could give a care less what's going on when I have an ex-wife and lawyers hounding me, calling me all hours, and sometimes you have to take care of your own backyard.
I also want to ask you though, beyond the lawyers and beyond that, what are you doing these days? What are you working on? As John Lydon, other than the new album.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing an appearance on the Howard Stern show coming up. Say Baba-Booey, and we have a motion picture that's slated to appear in if that gets off the ground. All these projects in La La Land. One day you're slated to do a lot of things, and the next thing you're bussing dishes in some kind of diner.
I doubt John Lydon will be bussing dishes in any diner anytime soon.
You haven't seen my wife's attorneys.
I want to ask you a question I ask every artist I've ever talked to, at least in the last 3 years. What advice do you have for new artists?
My advice is to get a B plan. My advice is don't ever take advice, because if you take advice, you're just listening to some tell you how to be exactly like himself. Follow your own path. Yes, sir. Don't ever take advice. The world is full of con artists and liars.
What about following their own kind of? How should they approach their creativity? I mean, without giving advice, how do you approach?
If you need advice on how to be creative, then you're probably not a creative person, and you're just going to glut up the market with a lot of the tripe that's out there now.
Bob
Mercer never gave us advice. He just saw talent, and he helped nurture it.
Who was this?
Mercer, Bob Mercer.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. We could go for hours on Mercer, man.
I don't think I can go for much longer, sir.
All right.
I have a weak stomach this morning.
Oh, no problem. Okay, let's do this. Let's wrap this up, but let's play one more song from the album. What would you like to hear, sir?
Play the first cut. I always put my first cut's always my favorite on every LP I've put out.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up, and we're talking with John Lydon, and sorry about your stomach, but I'm really glad you took the time to talk with us here at Solar Power Crew FM and also for Huffington Post.
Thank you very much, Solar Power Crew.
All right.
Huffington Post.